The sky over Victoria Island was sulking, its gray belly spilling slow. Cold rain across Lagos. Businessmen rushed past with umbrellas. Kiki drivers honked through traffic. The air smelled of wet dust and tired engines. Chioma Nwankwo pulled her coat tighter as she stepped out of a strategy meeting. Her driver had texted, "Stuck in traffic." "No walla," she mumbled, deciding to walk to the next junction. Her high heels clicked against the pavement, dodging puddles. As she passed a quiet alley behind a bakery, something made her pause. A man was kneeling beside a bin, drenched in rain. His coat was tattered, his face worn, and his shoes looked like they had stories to tell. She watched him pull out a half-eaten meat pie from a plastic bag and stare at it like it was gold. Without hesitation, Chioma stepped closer. "Excuse me," she said gently, opening her handbag. She pulled out a few crisp Naira notes. "Please, get something warm to eat." The man looked up, surprised. His eyes, tired but gentle, met hers. "I'm not begging, Ma," he said softly. "I know," Chioma replied. "It's not charity. It's help. That's all." He stood, brushing off the rain. "I don't like taking money for nothing," he said. "But if you have work, I'll earn it." Chioma blinked. She hadn't expected that. Then it struck her. Her Yaba Community Center project was behind schedule. One laborer had quit. The place needed cleanup urgently. "What's your name?" she asked. "Tund," he said simply. "Well, Tund," she smiled, handing him a card. "Show up tomorrow, 8 a.m. Ask for me." He took it like it was a passport to a new life. "Thank you," he said. Chioma nodded, walking away, never knowing that this rainy afternoon had just changed everything. Welcome to Moonlit Stories, where moonlight meets myth. Love timeless tales? Then hit like, subscribe, and join the circle. Every story begins with you. The sun rose timidly over Yaba, its light still softened by the leftover gloom of yesterday's rain. The ground around the construction site was damp, the red earth packed with muddy footprints and wheelbarrow tracks. At exactly 8 a.m., Tund arrived. He wore the same patched jeans and fraying boots from the day before. His coat was zipped up, but the sleeves couldn't hide the wear on his hands. Hands used to building something once upon a time. He clutched the card Chioma had given him like it was something sacred. Around him, workers gathered in groups, laughing and stretching. Some carried planks, others leaned against bags of cement, sipping sachet water and gossiping. "Who'll be this one?" one murmured, nudging another. "East resembles street man," another chuckled. Maybe he won't beg for leftover bread. Tund ignored them. He scanned the site until he saw her, Chioma, in a white safety helmet and a cream blouse, sleeves rolled up, blueprint in hand. She looked like she belonged, commanding the space without needing to shout. He walked up slowly. "Good morning, Ma," he said. "I'm Tund. We met yesterday." Chioma looked up and smiled. "Right on time. Come with me." She led him to a stern-looking man in a yellow vest and clipboard, Mr. Okonkwo, the site foreman. "This is Tund," she said. "He'll be joining the crew." Mr. Okonkwo eyed him. "Him? He no look like person way fit carry block." Chioma smiled. "He has hands and wants to work." "That's enough for me." The foreman sighed. "All right, tell Ojo to show him where the tools day. He can start by clearing the west side." Tund nodded. "I'll do my best." Chioma gave a small nod. "That's all I asked." And so, while others chatted or checked their phones, Tund got to work, lifting broken blocks, sweeping debris, clearing walkways. His movements were focused, his pace steady. No complaints. No rest. By noon, the entire West Wing looked transformed. Mr. Okonkwo passed by and stopped. "Who do all this?" One worker muttered. "Now that new guy, Tund." The foreman raised his brow and stared. And for the first time that day, Tund allowed himself a small, quiet smile. Lunch hour rolled in with the clang of a rusted bell tied to a bamboo pole. Workers dropped their tools and made their way toward a shaded corner under a corrugated zinc roof, where they ate rice from coolers or shared soft drinks from sachets. Tund, however, didn't join them. He found a quiet spot near the back fence, under a broken billboard that cast a narrow stretch of shade. In his hand, he held a folded piece of nylon with a small sandwich, something Ojo had kindly shared with him that morning. But he wasn't eating. His eyes were fixed on a small object in his palm, a simple gold ring. It glinted weakly in the light, worn smooth by time. He turned it over with slow fingers. Then, without a word, he stood up, walked to the bin, and dropped it inside like it meant nothing. Unseen by him, Chioma was nearby, scanning through her project notes. She paused, drawn by the quiet motion. She saw the way he stared at the ring before letting it go, the way his shoulders sank ever so slightly afterward. Curious, she walked over once he stepped away. In the bin, nestled among dust and wrappers, was the ring. She picked it up. "Ton," she called softly. He turned, surprised. She held up the ring. "Why would you throw this away?" He paused. "Because it no longer means what it used to." She tilted her head. "Was it yours?" He nodded. "I gave it to someone I thought would be mine forever." Chioma's voice lowered. "Your wife?" "Ex," he said, voice firm but calm. "She left when I lost everything. Job, company, car. She said poverty wasn't in her wedding vows." Chioma looked at him. Not as a worker, not as someone drenched in yesterday's rain, but as a man who had once loved deeply and lost painfully. "I'm sorry," she whispered. Ton shrugged lightly. "Don't be. Some people leave, so better ones can enter." Chioma looked down at the ring in her hand, then gently placed it on the ledge beside him. And in that moment, under the Lego sun and the scent of wet cement, something unspoken passed between them, an understanding neither needed to explain. The following afternoon, the construction site in Yaba buzzed with energy. The sun was high, hammering the red soil with heat. Drills roared with planks thudded, and sweat rolled down foreheads as men worked, shouted, and joked between tasks. Chioma stood near the center of the site, clipboard in hand, discussing roofing delays with two engineers. Her white helmet shaded her eyes, but not the quiet determination behind them. Despite the stress, she held her ground. Every line, every brick mattered to her. This center wasn't just concrete. It was a dream. Ton, meanwhile, worked along the west wall. Shirt damp with sweat, hands chalked with cement. He moved steadily. Every swing of the hammer, every block set, his focus never wavered. There was peace in the work. Then a sharp screech of tires outside the gate broke the rhythm. A black SUV door slammed. A tall man in a sharp blue suit strode onto the site like he owned it. Deo, Chioma's ex-fiancé, co-investor, entitled, impatient, and never far from trouble. "Chioma," he barked. She turned, her jaw tensed. "What are you doing here? We need to talk. Now." Deo snapped, his voice sharp and entitled. Chioma signaled for a break and stepped aside with him. Ton paused his work, noticing the shift in atmosphere. He didn't approach, but his eyes stayed on them. "You told people I kissed Ada?" Deo hissed. "You're ruining my name." "Because I saw it," Chioma replied coldly. "You didn't fall into her lips, Deo." "She kissed me. I didn't ask for it," he said defensively. "And you didn't stop her. That's why we're done." Deo's face darkened. "Fine, but you won't finish this project without me. I own half. Permits, labor contracts, everything." Chioma's voice faltered. "I can't pay you back right now. You have 24 hours, or I'll pull out. My lawyers will shut this place down." Chioma blinked, stunned. The dream she'd poured her soul into now dangled on the edge of his ego. From afar, Ton watched, not as a builder, but as someone who knew what it meant to have everything ripped away. His hands gripped the wheelbarrow tighter. He had seen enough. As the sun dipped lower, the construction site began to quiet. Workers trickled out, slapping backs, exchanging jokes, heading home with dust still clinging to their boots. But Ton stayed behind. He was sweeping the far corner of the compound, unwilling to leave a day unfinished. There was something about cleaning that felt like order, like slowly piecing back together life that had once fallen apart. Chioma remained too, sitting on a bench outside the small site office, going through documents she could barely focus on. Her mind was tangled, Deo's threat, the looming debt, the weight of everything she had worked for now hanging by a thread. Then, a sharp voice rang across the street. Well, if it isn't the great Tundelayed. He froze. He turned slowly. Standing a few feet away in red lipstick, tight heels, and a perfectly pressed designer blouse was Bimp, his ex-wife. The very woman he had once built a home with. The very woman who walked away when the walls of that home crumbled. What are you doing here? Tund asked, keeping his voice low. I've been looking for you, she said with a smirk, handing him a brown envelope. Those are the divorce papers. My conditions are inside. I want the house. That's what I deserve. Tund didn't even glance at the envelope. Not everything we had was bad, Bimp. It was good when you had a company, she snapped. Now, you're pushing a wheelbarrow on a dusty site. I'm rebuilding, he said simply. Bimp folded her arms. I'm just glad we never had kids. No child of mine should grow up with a broke man. Those words pierced deep. Unseen, Chioma had stood up. She had heard everything. Excuse me, she said, voice calm but firm. Tund is the reason this project is still on track. He works harder than anyone here. Bimp turned, mocking. And who are you? His charity case sponsor? I'm the owner of this site, Chioma replied. And I stand by him, not because he's rich, but because he shows up every day with dignity. Tund stared at her, stunned. He had faced insult before, but never had anyone spoken up for him like that. And in that moment, something in him shifted. He wasn't alone anymore. The next morning was quiet, but Tund's mind was not. He stood outside a modest legal office in Acacia, brown envelope in hand, the same one Bimp had delivered the evening before. His clothes were cleaner today, thanks to Chioma, who had sent someone from the site with a fresh shirt and trousers. Still, his palms felt damp. At exactly 9 a.m., a blue Toyota Corolla pulled up. Chioma stepped out, dressed simply in a sky blue blouse. Black trousers, no jewelry, no makeup. Just her. You really didn't have to come, Tund said softly as she approached. I know, she replied, but I wanted to. Inside, the office smelled of old paper and air freshener. A middle-aged lawyer with gold-rimmed glasses sat behind the desk. Across from him sat Bimp, legs crossed, red lips curled into a smug smile. Let's not waste time, she said, flipping her hair. I have somewhere to be. The lawyer cleared his throat. Mr. Tundelayed and Miss Bimbalade, this is the final divorce agreement. Bimp is requesting full ownership of the house. Tund nodded. She can have it. Bimp smirked, turning to Chioma. Smart woman, following him here. Hope you're learning what failure looks like. Chioma didn't flinch. Failure isn't when you fall. It's when you stop rising. Bimp's smile faltered. The lawyer continued. Tund retains full ownership of his investment in Technova. Technova? Bimp scoffed. Let him keep that useless idea. It won't even buy Suya. Tund signed the documents without a word, then handed the pen to Bimp. She hesitated, eyeing Chioma with mild disdain, before finally scribbling her name across the page. With one final glance at Tund, she stood. Don't waste your time on men who dream more than they earn, she sneered. Then she left. The silence afterward was thick, yet somehow peaceful. You okay? Chioma asked. Tund nodded slowly. Actually, yes, for the first time in years. They stepped outside into Lego sun. The traffic hummed in the distance, but around them, there was stillness, a strange, calm freedom. And though no promises had been made, a bond had quietly deepened, one that neither divorce nor disappointment could break. By the time Chioma returned to the Yaba site that afternoon, her heart still carried the weight of the morning's events. The divorce papers were signed. Tund was finally free, but her own troubles remained firmly planted like cemented pillars. She had only 24 hours left. 50 million Nigerian nairas. That was the amount Deo demanded to pull out of the project legally. Without it, she would lose the permits, workers, even equipment. She barely took 3 steps into the site when she heard that all too familiar voice. Well, if it isn't my favorite Madam Engineer, Deo said smugly, arms crossed near the cement mixer. Chioma didn't stop walking. "What do you want, Deo?" "Just checking in," he replied, following. "Have you gathered the money?" Her voice was steady. "I told you I need more time." Deo shrugged dramatically. "Then maybe there's another way." Chioma turned sharply. "What does that mean?" His voice dropped to a whisper. "Just one night, at my place. You, me, wine. You spend the night, and I cancel your debt." Chioma's eyes widened. She took a step back in disgust. "You're sick. I'm offering you a choice," Deo said coolly. "Don't act surprised. You know how Lagos works." Chioma clenched her fists. "Over my dead body." From behind a stack of blocks, Tund had heard it all. Quietly, he stepped forward, his face calm but unreadable. "You really think she has no one?" he asked. Deo turned, laughing. "Look who's talking. You want to offend her with your wheelbarrow and broken boots." Tund didn't flinch. He pulled out his phone. "Give me your bank account number." "What?" "You said she owes you. I'm paying it. Right now." Deo chuckled. "You don't even have proper shoes." "Say, the number." Something in Tund's voice silenced the laughter. Deo hesitated, then slowly recited it. Tund typed carefully. A few taps. Then he turned the phone toward Chioma. 50 million Nigerian nairas transfer successful. Deo's jaw dropped. "Wait, what? You, how?" Tund tucked the phone away. "Don't judge by the dust on someone's boots. Some of us are just building in silence." Chioma blinked, stunned, and in that moment, everything changed. The man she once thought was struggling had just saved her dream. The construction site had never felt so still. Even with hammers pounding in the distance and workers murmuring in awe, the air hung heavy around Chioma and Tund. The 50 million Nigerian nairas transfer had rippled to the crew like a midday thunderclap. No one could believe it, least of all Deo, who stood frozen like someone watching a bank robbery in reverse. "You have your money," Tund said, voice calm. "Now leave." Deo opened his mouth to argue, but the shame was already crawling up his neck. His bluff had been called, and worse, by the man he thought was a nobody. Without another word, Deo turned and stormed out, humiliated. Chioma exhaled deeply. She hadn't realized how tightly she'd been gripping her clipboard. "You just saved me," she whispered. Tund gave a small smile. "No, I just reminded him that dignity still has defenders." As murmurs rose among the workers, Chioma gestured for Tund to follow her. They left the noise behind, walking 2 quiet blocks down a side street lined with mango trees and rusted iron gates. When they reached a peaceful spot shaded from the sun, Chioma stopped. "I need to ask," she said gently. "That transfer, how did you get that kind of money?" Tund looked down, then slowly met her gaze. "Technova," he said. "The tech company?" He nodded. "They went public last night. The shares exploded. I'd invested everything I had, my last savings, my old car, even sold my father's watch." Chioma's eyes widened. "I believed in their mission. I studied the growth patterns. Everyone said I was crazy, including Bimp. But you," he paused. "You never laughed." Chioma's chest tightened. "I didn't believe in Technova," she said quietly. "I believed in you." Tund blinked. "You worked when others gossiped. You listened more than you spoke. You didn't need to prove anything, and yet you did." He smiled, not the tired one she'd seen before, but something brighter, something full of peace. "I didn't tell anyone," he said, "because I needed to know who'd stand by me with nothing, who'd see me, not the bank balance." Chioma reached out and gently touched his hand. "Well," she said with a soft smile, "now you know." And in that quiet corner of Yaba, under the rustling trees, something more valuable than money passed between them: trust. The next morning at the Yaba construction site, the usual sounds of drills and hammers filled the air. But something had shifted. Workers greeted Tund with newfound respect, no longer with mockery or side glances. He wasn't just the guy with patched jeans anymore. He was a man who paid off 50 million Nigerian nairas like it was nothing. Still, Tund carried himself the same, focused, quiet, pushing a wheelbarrow as though wealth hadn't touched him. And that was what made him even more admirable in Chioma's eyes. By noon, she called him aside. "Let's take a walk," she said. They strolled down a quieter road, just past a local tailor's kiosk and a dusty football pitch. Children chased each other, shouting, but the two adults were wrapped in something deeper. "There's something I haven't told you," Tun said, eyes focused ahead. Chioma looked up at him. "I'm listening." "I didn't lose everything by accident," he began. "I started noticing things in my marriage, small lies, late-night calls, receipts for places I hadn't been. I suspected Bimp was cheating." Chioma's face fell. "So I tested her," he continued. "I told her the business was collapsing, that the funds were drying up. I needed to know if she was with me or with my wallet." Chioma's voice was barely a whisper. "And she left." "She left," he confirmed, "but not quietly. She humiliated me, told our friends I was cursed, lazy, worthless. I lost clients, reputation, everything." Chioma paused beside a wooden bench under a mango tree. "That's cruel." "It was," he nodded, "but it taught me something. Not everyone who claims to love you can survive the storm with you." She looked into his eyes. "And yet, here you are, still standing." He smiled softly. "Because I still believe in love. I still believe in people." Chioma reached for his hand. "I've had my share of betrayal too, but I think we're both finding something real here." They stood in silence, palm in palm, letting the breeze speak where words fell short. And for the first time in a long while, neither of them felt broken. They felt seen. Together, they weren't just survivors. They were becoming each other's healing. 3 months passed. The Yaba Community Center now stood proudly with smooth plaster walls, a tiled courtyard, and a blue ribbon fluttering on its gate. Children played near the entrance, and neighbors peeked in, curious about the place that had once been nothing but dust and scaffolding. Inside, Chioma moved with confidence, greeting guests and showing officials around. Her dream had come true, but not just because of funding. It was because someone had walked in from the rain one day and reminded her that people could still be honest, strong, and kind. That evening, after the last guest had left, she walked outside into the quiet street. The air was cooler, the sky tinged orange. Tun was waiting by a car. He wore a clean native kaftan, simple, dark green, but elegant. His beard was trimmed, his posture upright. "You clean up well," Chioma said, smiling. "So do you," he replied, admiring her ivory gown. They walked side by side toward the small bistro, where they first had coffee weeks ago. As they sat under warm lights, Tun took a deep breath. "I've been thinking," he said. Chioma raised an eyebrow. "That usually means something big." "I didn't pay Deo to impress you," he said seriously. "I didn't show up at that office for gratitude. And I'm not sitting here because I feel like I owe you anything." She nodded, listening. "I'm here because I love you, Chioma. For your heart, your fire, your faith in people. Even broken ones like me." Her eyes softened. "I was hoping you'd say that." "You were?" She leaned closer. "From the day you said you'd work for every naira, from the moment you dropped that ring in the bin, I knew." Tun reached into his pocket and pulled out a tiny box. "I don't have a long speech," he said, opening it to reveal a new ring. Not gold, but handcrafted from woven silver, simple and meaningful. "But I do have a question." He looked into her eyes. "Will you keep walking with me? Not as a savior or a helper, but as my partner?" Chioma's throat tightened. She reached out, tears glinting. "Yes, 1,000 times, yes." And as they embraced beneath the Lagos streetlight, with Danfo horns echoing in the distance and the scent of roasted corn in the air, it was clear. This wasn't just a story about money, betrayal, or rescue. It was about two souls who met at rock bottom and decided to build upward together